Welcome to our podcast. I'm Stacey Donadio.
And I'm Shannon Fasone from Turnkey Women,
where we're opening doors for women in business.
Cheers.
Welcome to the Turnkey Women's Podcast. We are your hosts, Stacey Donadio and Shannon Fasone. And today we are lucky enough to have with us in the studio Christine Ruggiero from Liquivida. Welcome. For those of you that don't know, you should know, Liquivida is a premier med spa with 2 locations in Middletown and Manalapan.
Marlboro.
All M's. I know. It's all M's.
It's once I leave Red Bank, I'm lost. So, Marlboro. So, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
We're very happy to have you here. I was just a recent patient.
Yeah.
Would I be considered a patient or client? Like, what's the
client?
Right.
Patient implies you're sick.
At the doctor, right?
Yeah.
So
or
a client.
Hospital. Yeah. Yeah. So you're
Although
client.
Shannon and I were just talking about it, we love Liquivida because it's like the perfect blend.
Yeah, we literally, in my car,
It's the cleanest. Not that I've ever been anywhere filthy, right? Or that I've known as filthy, because we've had this conversation. But it's the cleanest, most professional, yet luxurious Botox experience I've ever had.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the perfect combination. You feel like you're in a spa, but you feel very secure that everything is medical.
Yes.
Very medical. Everything is... Like you tell us. So wait, let's before we get into the
nitty gritty.
Right. Let's get a little background. So we met Christine at
How did we meet?
Oh, you were our vendor.
You were a vendor at our
holiday.
Yes.
Oh yes,
the holiday market
in Avon.
Yes.
And I saw you at the Babes in Business event at Porta.
Yes, we went together.
And when I say she legitimately is like women supporting women, like you got to meet her. You have to meet her. You have to talk to her. And I was like, this is incredible. And we were lucky enough to have you continue not only to attend our events, but now this is her second time stepping up as a sponsor. Mm-hmm. And the first was the first Trolley Bop. And now we're going to do the holiday Trolley Bop.
Oh my God, that's going to be fun.
So much fun.
Trolley Bop 2.0.
We are really excited.
I know. You're going to be hosting a little
cocktail hour.
It's a little more than a happy hour. It's a happy hour and a half.
It's the happiest hour.
It's the happiest hour and a
The
half.
happiest hour. I like that.
Yeah. It's a little more. Yeah. So we're going to have some charcuterie, some local vendors, and then we're all going to sign up for all our services because she's giving
great discounts.
Unbelievable turnkey opportunities, specials, whatever you want to call them. Mm-hmm. But we went to dinner, the 3 of us, and we learned like the most fascinating thing. I hate everything medical. You guys have seen me.
Oh, yes. We know.
Biggest weenie.
I didn't say it.
We love her. Yeah.
But that being said, I was fascinated with your background.
Oh, gosh. Here we go. Yeah.
And
it's interesting.
When you dropped that little nugget, I was probably half a martini in, so like the fascination was like elevated. But we've since had the conversation, and I'm still as interested, and I know everyone else would love to know, like how your background, your credentials.
Like how did you end up at Liquivida?
Yeah, like take us there.
I took a long way around and then ended there. All right, so in a nutshell, obviously I'm a nurse, so that. Anything medical, I love. I think when I started nursing, 1991, you 2 weren't born yet.
Lies, I wish.
You weren't born yet.
100%. Well, now she looks that way because she had your Botox.
It's true.
done, but
doesn't it take a bunch of years off?
Yeah.
I know. I love it. It's like refreshed. I know.
Yeah.
I can't live without that. Someone says to me, what do you want on an island? I'm like, let's see, Botox fillers and Jess Russo.
yes.
I love her. Shout out to
Jess
Jessica.
Russo.
She's the best.
Well, our whole team is actually amazing.
They all
They're
are.
all great.
Yeah.
We're like one big functioning functioning
dysfunctional family.
Yeah, however you say it.
I mean, that's how we operate.
Yeah, which is why I fit right in. See?
Like, what is it? Our new thing is, hashtag unhinged energy.
Unhinged, yeah.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Who said that?
I don't know.
Well, not
but
me, but someone did. Probably
patent that.
Gem.
Make it your own. Yeah,
maybe.
It's good. I like that.
No, we're not stealing that, but
I
we'll
like
collaborate on some sort of.
Oh my gosh! Yes.
So go back to.
All right.
You were a nurse.
So I was a nurse in 1991. I started my career, and I would say 98% of my career has been in Newark. I worked at the hospital. I was a trauma nurse. I was an ICU nurse, an ER nurse, a PEDS nurse, PEDS ER, PEDS ICU. everything but oncology. That just wasn't my thing. I couldn't do oncology,
Okay.
and I didn't like medical ICU. But anyway, so it was a great experience because everyone said to me, up to and including my dad, "Are you nuts? Why would you want to go work in Newark?" I'm like, "Where else are you going to learn? Like, this is amazing."
Seriously.
That's balls.
I still actually have friends from that time in my life that I'm still great friends with because
cool.
you're kind of in the trenches. It's like being in the
Yeah.
military.
It's like trauma bonding.
Yeah, it is. You trauma bond. You
Yeah.
do. And we still talk about stories and we still remember certain patients and we're like, oh my God, we wonder what happened to that person. So it's weird. You do get bonded that way.
is. Wow.
And then so from there, I was always fascinated with forensics. And at the time, forensics was not, if you can believe this, and here we're going to date myself. So when I came out of nursing school, HIV just started to become a thing.
Right.
So nobody even knew what it was. So that was number one. So think about how long ago that was, where now you don't even hear about it.
Well,
right?
like 91, I was in
Seventh
grade, 7th grade. Yeah, we graduated in 9th grade,
92.
right?
Yeah, see?
So yeah, and that was when,
Yeah.
who was the boy who got HIV through the blood transfusion?
Adam, I think, is it Adam something?
I forget.
The dentist, though. He got it through the dentist or
Right?
some dental
And like
procedure.
it was just like everyone was terrified.
Oh, Ryan.
Yeah.
Ryan. I think it was Ryan something.
Ryan,
Yeah.
yes.
Ryan White.
Yes,
See?
Ryan
Yeah.
White.
It
Very
comes to me.
good,
The
right?
old brain fires. Good thing for NAD.
And everyone was terrified. So that must have been terrifying because I know like in urban areas HIV was like really rampant.
Yeah. Well, we didn't know what it was. And when you go to nursing school, all you're taught is like this fear factor. And it's like the fear mongrels, But then, you meet people along the way. And I met a hairdresser and him and his partner were one of my first HIV positive clients. And he was dying. And it just moved me. Like, I thought, this is a person. And, people were afraid of it. It's like kind of like the COVID.
Yeah.
How we all reacted then and we all gowned up and masked up and everybody was like petrified of this thing. The same thing happened then. And I think what humbled me a little bit was when I saw this, I'm like, this is a human being. This isn't just a disease. So, anyway, back then that was it. And nobody really went into nursing. But I always was fascinated with forensics, even though forensics was just like, you would watch a lot of crime shows and, the detectives were always a part of it. And then it came Law and Order and those
yeah, I
shows
used to
later
watch
on.
that on repeat. Maybe
Yeah.
that's why I have
Current
like,
Affair
Maybe that's
was
why you
my
love
favorite.
it. Yeah, and it's like the who done it and how they
Yeah.
find the person. So anyway, so forensic nursing was starting to become a thing, but nobody really heard about it. And it was like 2004, I think, that it really started getting some literature behind it. And I was like, I really want to do this forensic nursing thing.
Wow.
But there's nowhere to go. There's no
Right.
programs. There's nothing. So anyway, long story short, I found Binghamton University did a forensic course. I took it. I was like, great. Now what am I going to do with this thing? Because there's no job for it, But when you work trauma, you learn that when you preserve evidence, when you remove a bullet from somebody or
Right.
whatever.
So you remove the bullet
like sometimes
and
they
then you have to put it in like a bag.
a little cup or whatever and send it off to the lab or give it to the doctor or the police or whoever it was. And back then it was like different. Now everybody's so, by the book. Back then it was like, oh, I went to go turn this patient and this came out of him, and it just, well, that looks like a bullet.
Wow.
Yeah. Because I still remember some young kid was running and he claims he was minding his own business waiting for the bus, but obviously he was running from somebody and they shot him in the behind. And he kept saying to me, my ass hurts. And I'm like, what? So, and obviously he came in and we're in the ER and you turn around and now we know why his ass hurts. He had like a bullet wound right in like the crack of his ass, and I was like, oh, well, no one's going to see that. But thank God he was telling me his butt hurt. And I was like, this is strange. So that's your introduction to forensics. You didn't even know what you were doing when you were doing it.
Yeah.
But I loved it. And then I got into it more and I fell in love with forensic psychology because I love crazy people. Just deviant. That's why I love you guys.
Unhinged.
So no, like deviance, behavior is, and everyone thinks deviance is like your stalker, your serial killer, but deviant behavior is also positive deviant. It's also like your gym rats. It's also your obsessive compulsive disorders. It's also the person who cleans like a nut.
Yeah.
Me. So there's like good and bad deviance. So I was fascinated by that. So anyway, I go to school. I go and do this whole forensic nursing thing now. I got a master's in forensic psychology. And I was like, all right, what do I do where I can marry that and marry nursing? And then I went and became a forensic nurse. And I ended up in Newark again through the prosecutor's office. The best job I ever had. I think I was there for 14 or 15 years.
Oh my God.
And, sure enough, I said, well, do you guys have a job for me? And they're like, actually, we do. We're doing this thing called forensic nursing. And I was like, oh, okay, great. This is perfect for me. What do I do? Let's sign me up. And little did I know that it was in sex crimes. So it was SVU. And I worked my way up, and then I became the director of forensic nursing services. So I had the whole county of Essex, 21 municipalities, all the colleges, universities, Newark Airport.
You were a busy bee.
Penn Station. Yeah, so you had all that under you. I'm like, oh, this is great. Never did you realize how much work you would have.
That actually sounds like a shitload of work.
It is a lot, but you hire good people, so you're
mean,
good. But
yeah.
it was fun in the sense, not fun, but fun at the camaraderie, because you trauma bond, and you work with people in so many different, like lawyers, detectives, cops, nurses, doctors,
and no one
social
understands
services.
what you're going through
Right.
unless they're like, you can come home and tell your husband or your wife or your kids, but like they're going to be like,
they don't get it.
They don't get it.
Yeah,
And you probably don't want to
them
hear
get
it. Yeah,
no,
like,
nobody.
I wouldn't want to hear. A lot of cops' wives are always like, I don't ask the stories because
I don't want to know.
Yeah.
I don't want to know.
Yeah, and you don't, it's hard. And like, unless you're, and then what happens is you get this whole nother group of people that your support system is, because your home life, they can't handle, or they don't want to hear it. And like I always said, I'm going to write a book one day, just kind of the experiences, because, when you think about it, so, when I look back now at like
Hollywood, that's where.
No, I mean, listen,
did you
Olivia Benson?
Yeah, right, like Law and Order is a real thing.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you watch that,
right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I was actually lucky enough because I met the nurse, forensic nurse, who actually does the, she gives the advice to Law and Order, SVU. Okay. Yeah, she's a great woman. I met her at a conference one day, and I was like, you have the coolest job in the world. I want that job.
Yeah.
So anyway, so here we are, and, after you do that for a while, and my areas were child abuse, child pornography, sexual assault, child and adult, elder abuse, domestic violence, and that's like the shit of the shit. Can I curse on this? I'm sorry.
Oh, fucking A, you can.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like the shit of the shit cases, where not that the patients were shit. No, it's the job was shit. Like, going to have a child and have this child, tell you what happened, or trying to bond with this kid so they can trust you to tell you what happened. So it was like a lot of out leaving the house at night. My kids always knew what I did. I wanted them to always know. Mommy goes and helps people. So when I would leave and I'm not at the school play, or I'm not picking you up from school, that you understand that I have a job.
Yeah. A very important job.
Yeah, but there was quite a few times where people would say, Nick, what does your mom do for a living? I don't know, she's a nurse. And then he made the mistake one day of telling somebody, I used to take my kids to work with me sometimes, to my office. They would sit under the desk while I had to do stuff if I didn't have a babysitter. Not that I would take them in the hospitals with me, but sometimes when I have paperwork to do. And my son, innocently says to somebody, my mom works with a bunch of men who have guns. So they're like, isn't she a nurse? Yeah, she's a nurse, but she works with a lot of guys and they all have guns. So now everyone's like, what
she's
does she
a mafia
do? Yeah. So it's like, okay, she's either a prostitute, she's leaving late at night. She's got a pimp who has a gun, who knows, right? And it just went around and around. So one day some mom stopped me and said, I thought you were a nurse, but your son says you work with men that have guns. And I said, I do actually. And, well, how does that work for you? Like, what hospital do you work in? I said, I work in like 8 hospitals, 7, 8 hospitals, whatever it was. And she just kind of looked at me, and I thought, this is going to be fun. So I said, well, actually, I do work nights. And she goes, you do you? Because I do. I see your car leaving at night, all hours of the night.
You see my car, lady?
And I said, wow. She goes, well, when you leave at night, your light goes on, and it flashes in our bedroom. Sure. And I said,
because I got my eyes
like this. So I was like, all right. And you live across the street. I don't know, but whatever. It was at the time. And so anyway, so then, I kind of said to my kids, please tell them your mom's a forensic nurse. Please tell them your mom works. Don't leave it vague like that. So anyway, so we come back to it, and then I kind of loved it. I just loved it. It was bittersweet, but then it does take a toll. Your relationships take a toll, because you're not always going to be happy party, want to talk to everybody. You go to parties, or you go to things. People say, "Oh, what do you do?" "Oh, I'm a forensic nurse." "Oh, tell me what you do."
Oh, God, that's exactly what
and you become like Moses parts the water, so to speak. Like everybody, then when they really know what you do, it's like, okay, hi, nice talking to you, bye. I don't want to talk to you.
That's Debbie Downer.
Yeah. And I think though, as the years went on and the crimes became more deviant or harder to do, and when you think about it, we are so sheltered down here. We really are, and thank God for that, because we are. You work hard to live in a place where you could be sheltered.
Yeah.
But when you have like little kids being sold for drugs, and you have moms that are addicted, or moms that are being abused, or moms that get involved with the wrong person, and you realize like this whole entire culture that you're right. It's like you can't even believe this actually happens. And there are times where I would walk away and I'm like, I can't believe this shit is really happening. Like, who does this?
I mean, in today's world with all of these Hollywood stories coming out.
Yeah. And the internet, I mean, I grew up where the internet without. And then when you see now little kids that are on the internet and they're
telling their stories.
Yeah.
So like with the whole Diddy thing, I don't know if you've been.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
so that brings your job to a spotlight in the entire world right now. And I go down the TikTok rabbit hole, and there are
scary.
These children that were claiming allegedly to be victims, telling firsthand their stories.
Gross.
So like.
Yeah. But we had it even back then.
Right.
But you know what you didn't realize,
You didn't know it was everywhere.
You didn't know. Michael Jackson was always friends with little boys. Not to denigrate him. He was brilliant in what he did. But that was always odd. Why is a grown man sleeping in a bed or sharing his room with young boys? And what parent thinks that's okay?
Well, look at all the dumbasses that sent their fucking, pardon my language, but all their daughters off to R. Kelly.
Right.
Knowing, and he had already been like on trial. For like what?
Yeah,
and because there's a notoriety to it.
It's crazy.
It's like I get to say I know so and so, or I get to say I knew that person, or my daughter's hanging out because we're all obsessed with like Instagram and Facebook. And even when you have little kids, like sometimes you'd meet like a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old, and mom is like, oh, I just happened to be cleaning my daughter's room and I took her iPad and look what I found, and now there's all this porn stuff, and I don't know what this is, and come down to the office, and you're kind of like, well, why would you give your kid an iPad at that young age? Leave them alone in their room. So there's interesting things with the internet about where you could type in certain things and one letter off will bring you to a porn site, and that's intentional. So kids would put in Disney princess. It happened to me. There was a time where my daughter was looking up the Disney princesses, and I don't know what she typed in wrong, and all of a sudden up pops this thing with boobs, and she's like, mommy, I don't know what I did, come to the computer. And I'm like, oh god.
Same thing with YouTube. YouTube, it's like suggested for you, and then all of a sudden, like, they're watching, I forget what my kids, it was some cartoon, and all of a sudden, and they were little, they were like probably 6 and 7. All of a sudden, it's like violent, quasi-sexual cartoon from like the same. So say it was like, it's not Paw Patrol, but say it was Paw Patrol.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, like, all these dogs are doing weird stuff.
Yeah, and the reason they do it, and there's, I always say this, there's a fine line between brilliance and criminality, because you have to have a brilliant mind to be a criminal sometimes. Now, there's stupid
100%.
criminals, but like the more sophisticated
I always say,
ones,
if they harnessed it for good, imagine what they could accomplish, right?
Yeah, they'd be the next Elon Musk or Bill Gates or God knows whoever, as Jeff Bezos. But what happens is it's all done very intentional. And then there's that lure. And what are people, with human nature is you're curious, right? Yeah. So why can we not stop watching these videos that people are posting online sometimes, right? Why can we not stop watching, certain things? It's fascination, right? Yeah. We're fascinated by this. So then we sit there and then we get, like you said, go down that rabbit hole, and then you're obsessed with it, and you watch it, you watch it, you watch it. And so that the person who's creating this stuff does that intentionally for the person to watch. So, I mean, it's hard, and then you have like all these people living in that Instagram thing. But anyway, so I did that. I started getting burnt out, started feeling a lot of burnt out, started realizing like the crimes we're getting, especially against children, that like guts me. But when I look back at it now and I think of, 14 or 15 years of doing that job and having like, thousands of cases, I think it was like over 10,000, 12,000 cases I must have looked at, reviewed, testified, wrote reports on. And then I think back and I said, wow, some of it I've already blocked out.
I'm sure.
Like I just boxed it and put it on the shelf, and I'm like, I don't even want to think about that. But then every now and again something will happen. But then there's good stories. You have people that find you and they're like, hey, because of you, when I was sexually assaulted at 8 years old, I always knew I wanted to be a nurse because you were so nice to me. And that, like, then that makes it worth it,
For sure.
And I have a few young ladies that reached out later on in life and said, I'm in nursing school and you're the reason I became a nurse.
That's
and I was
amazing.
Like, I like that, makes it worth it. But so after getting burnt out and realizing, all right, what do I want to do with my life? It was during COVID. And we're all sent home. We were working from home, whatever. We were still going out in the field, going to see everybody, but we weren't going to our office. So I was sitting there one day, and I still remember it was Martin Luther King Day, which was our day off for us, although we're never off. And I'm typing in, and I'm like, what can I do as a nurse? So I started looking into IVs. I'm like, oh, I could do IVs. I do them all the time. I could do IVs. And then you go down that, circular pattern, and you're like, all right, I could do this. Oh, I could do this, or I could do this. So anyway, I reached out to Liquivida. They're based in Florida, and I've just started looking at the concept. And the guy called me like later on that afternoon. He's like, hey, you're a nurse. You have needle power. Why don't you think about opening a whole wellness center? And I'm like, huh, okay. That's a total, change from what I do. All right, let me think about it. So I flew down there, fell in love with it. I was like, I could totally see myself doing this. Bring it to New Jersey. I'm like, yeah, I think I could do this. And then it kind of happened where that's where we are,
Which location did you open first?
Middletown was first, and then 6 weeks later, I opened Marlboro. Dumb idea because it's way too much too fast. But, it was 2 years later, here we are, you know. So,
still going.
Yeah, it's still going. And then so this is a happy thing. Most of the time, people come in, they're not feeling good, they don't like the way they look, or they just want something, they don't know what they want. And it's so nice to talk to people, all different walks of life, who's getting married, who's going through a divorce, who just had a baby, who's turning 40, who's turning 50, 60, 70, And it's like, I just need something. And then you don't know what that something is, a refresh, or I'm starting a new chapter in my life. And I said, well, you know what? It's funny because I did the same thing without realizing I was starting a new chapter in my life. So, and I also think that I did it because it was something I never did. I don't know how to run a business. So I learned.
You're super smart. I remember after that dinner the next day, I said to Stacy, and she's really fucking smart. Not only do you have the degrees to back it up, but you have business savvy. You're great with people. You see a direction, and you know where to go. You just are very definitive in your intentions, and they're always on point.
But that's part of being a woman. We have that gut instinct that so many people...
Some of us do.
A lot of people don't tap into it.
Yeah, they don't because they're afraid
to. Or they ignore it and they doubt their own instincts.
Well, it's all because everyone doubts us. Not everyone. Men doubt us. Sorry, Christian. Men doubt us, and I think that really is, it's like sometimes your inner voice, it's hard to fight past that inner voice.
Well, you know what it is, too? There's labels. And one thing I learned in life as I got older, there's labels, right? And what's the first thing we do? And women are the worst at this, and I always want to try and change this culture. We label ourselves. We're either pretty or ugly, smart or stupid, married or divorced, right?
Skinny or fat.
Right. Yeah. So we have
Tall,
all these labels,
short.
and we put on ourselves. Yeah. And then I realized, going through a divorce and starting all over again. And I was like, oh, my God, I got to start all over again now, and I realized one thing that we do to ourselves is we put these labels on ourselves. Mm-hmm. And guys don't do that. Guys have a camaraderie. That's why I love what you guys do, because you bring every type of woman who has an idea for a business or thinking about it or established about it or you don't know which direction to go in. You bring all women together, and it's an environment where it's not catty. There's no jealousy. There's no animosity. You feel comfortable. And people will say, hey, can you give me some advice? I'm thinking about it. And that's kind of the same thing with, when I first got started years ago with Babes in Business, going to that thing the first time, I didn't even have my business. I just didn't know where to start. I just sat there okay. And then, you ask questions like, what made you do this? Or weren't you afraid? Or, where'd you find the money? Or, do people take you seriously? And no one takes a woman seriously in business, even in 2024 sometimes. Now it's a little better, but I remember building out my store, and it happened to me a few times. And I'd walk in, and, the construction crew's there, and they're like, no, you can't come in. Why? You have to talk to the owner. I said, okay. And I keep walking in. They're like, no, ma'am, you can't come in. Why? You got to talk to the owner. It
never dawned on them that you're the fucking
And they
owner.
said to me, you need to ask him. We need to ask him if it's okay if you come in. I said, well, go ahead. Do you have his number? Well, no. I said, do you know who the owner is? No. And I said, all right, well, I'm waiting. And then they look at me like, you're a nut. And I said, I am the fucking owner. And if you don't get out of my way, I said, you're not going to have a job. Why do you think right away it's a man? And why would a man be in this industry? Stupid, right?
They just think
but
they're the
I've
ones
had
that own
it done to me twice, 3 times actually. And it was electricians. No, you can't come in here. It's a construction. I know what it is.
Thanks.
And it's like, you got to ask the owner. And then they would say to me, oh, you're the owner? Oh, okay. Do you have a partner? Because why could I not have a business without a partner? And I said, no, I don't have a partner. And they're just fascinated by, oh, Then you married rich?
All alone?
Yeah. Did you marry rich? No, I said I divorced well. Like, what kind of answer is that? Like, what question do you ask somebody? You know, did you? So anyway, so I feel like after that stuff, like with women, I think the biggest thing I wanted to create was, and I think I succeeded. I am not sure. You have to ask my staff. I wanted a place where women could work together and complement each other. So the front desk girl has the hardest job in my store. And she really does, because
dealing with the public is
she's
tough.
dealing with everybody. The phone's ringing. She's checking out people.
Yeah,
she's
multitasking.
taking care of us. So she has the hardest job. And then I think the injectors, the nurses, the wellness coordinator, the estheticians, and everybody just gets along, and I love that. We have no drama.
That's huge.
You can feel the good energy.
But that's
when you walk
top
in.
down. Like that is top down. When you come with that, like we say, your vibe attracts your tribe.
Yeah.
Like whether that's
I like that.
by choice going to networking or how you hire.
Yeah.
And knowing when to cut the cancerous cell out, right?
No matter
Like,
how
that's big.
valuable that you
That's
think they
huge.
are,
Yeah.
they're not.
They're huge.
They're replaceable.
I
with good
had,
energy.
you know, when you're in business and you're new at it, you're afraid. So you don't realize, like, oh my God, if they quit on me, what am I going to do?
Right.
You know? And I realized never put so much value on one particular person in your business, because they are not your business. They're part of your business. They're a complement of your business. But I've always told my teams, I said, guys, it's full disclosure. I will tell you about the business. I'll tell you what we make, what we lose, what things cost. So you have an idea that when I am pushing you for certain things, that you get it. It's not because, you know, there's some months we don't.
It's not because I want to go on vacation this week.
And you know what? And they'll tell you, they're like, get out of here. You're here 7 days a week. Like, you know, even though stores open 6, you're here 7. You know, I'll stay late, I'll open early. But a lot of times it's example, you know.
Yeah.
It's like I want them to be invested in it, because I don't want them thinking I just come and collect a paycheck. And they've made great relationships with their people, you know, where they're Instagramming, they're DMing, they're texting, they're, you know, being invited to things. So I think it's a different culture than your traditional med spa, because a lot of places, and this is, everyone, listen, I've always said this, there is enough money in the world for everyone. You know, there's 10,000 med spas up and down, you know, the different areas. But the difference is this. Okay, they're good for one thing. They're known for that. We're known for this. They're known for something else. And it's just, what is your niche, right? And ours is more wellness, mental, physical, emotional. You know, you come in, you bond with the person who's injecting your face.
And you educate. Like, you guys are really, really, really good.
Yeah.
The fact that we got Shannon to do a B12 shot against her will, is so impressive. But
we
you
didn't
really
hold her down. We got
I
her
didn't even know it was
consent.
happening.
I mean,
I tell this story all the time until I was too old to be going to a pediatrician. They had the porcupine, and it was a little stuffed animal, and I would hold it here, and he would over there, and I would make my mom come in, and I would like
and
tears.
now tell the rest of the story that you asked
I
Jessica
didn't even
if
know
she had a porcupine.
I might have. But I was going to tell the story of when she gave me the shot.
Oh, God.
I didn't even know, because she was doing this little
manipulation of your muscle.
Yeah. And I didn't even know. I was
no,
like,
but the education, like you guys walk us through everything.
Yeah.
I was talking to Liz Ivanko from, you know, our group.
Oh,
and
yeah,
she
yeah,
was
yeah.
telling me how she's doing the shots with you, and that you've walked, like, you give her so much information that sometimes her head spins.
Oh, she did. She told me.
And
I'm
she's like,
overloaded. I said,
yep.
okay, let's do this in bite-sized chunks.
Yeah.
So this is what you want, and this is what we'll do.
But whatever you're doing to her right now, she's feeling great. She's like, I have energy. She goes, I feel like I'm like losing like inches.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's great.
And I think, you know why, you go to some places, and this has happened to me, so I can speak from experience. You know, before I opened up Liquivida, well, we're in the process of, you know, getting the thoughts together of like, how we're going to do this, where we're going to go, you know, what do we want to do? And one of the reasons I opened in Middletown was because I wanted to be closer to my kids. Now, obviously, I have 2 that are in college, one finished, one's living in Florida, one's in California. She'll probably stay there. So I just have my son. So I thought, you know, I want to do something where for so many years I was leaving in the middle of the night, you know, to go work with those guys with guns. And you know, and I just wasn't with my children as much as I really wish I was. And I missed out on a lot, you know, going back. You know, I wasn't your soccer mom. I wasn't going to sit there. My kids will tell you, I'd sit in the car with a magazine. I'm like, oh, yeah, hi, you know, and like, I'm not getting out of the car. It's freezing. You're doing a lacrosse game and it's raining or snowing. I'm not going going to come out of the car. And it's not that I don't love my children. I do. And I'm very proud of them. And I'm there for everything that they need. But, you know, I just can't sit there and freeze my ass off and watch them hit this ball because they're not going to play this in college. And I knew it. I'm like, oh my God, okay, fine. Yeah, good job, you know. But we did gymnastics, we did dance, we did everything. And at one point, you know, they're like, Mom, you never come to my games. I'm like, your game starts at 3:15. I work in Newark. I have to come flying down the turnpike on 2 wheels. I'm like, do you know, by the time I get here, I'm lucky if I catch 3 minutes. But God bless them. Their father was great. He was at everything because he's more into the sports than I was. And so we had the balance. So I said, I'll be the fun mom to do other things, like take you to New York, take you shopping, do whatever you want to do, get your nails done, your hair, whatever. But your dad can be the sports person.
He's a sports guy.
And that's fine.
Yeah, so those lines were, you know, pretty well thought out. But, you know, as time goes on, you know, I realize I wanted an environment and teach. And it's a nursing thing, too. Nurses will teach you in the worst of situations. Like, your patient could be coding it. It's like, okay, we're just going to shock you now. Yeah, like, patient's not even listening to you, but you're talking yourself through it. And a lot of times we tell you things and we educate you because we want you to be comfortable. I never want someone leaving going, I don't know what the fuck they just did to me, but I just dropped, you know, X amount of dollars and I have no clue what I got.
Yeah, no.
You know,
that's
and that's
definitely
not
never
fun.
the case.
No, we don't want that. And I know there's clients that come to us and say, hey, I went to this other med spa and I felt like it was a drive-through. You guys take the time and, you know, you sit down and talk, sometimes too much. I got to get in and knock on Jess's door. I'm like, your next client's here. Because she's also like
she's
she
amazing.
loves to teach. She's so good at it. And everybody does.
Is.
All the nurses with the IVs and the wellness coordinator, you know, Taylor's great. You know, they all teach you about peptides, right? They all teach you about how to take care of yourself. And the one thing I think that I'm just a little like, I've got to figure out how to educate people on, you know, well, it's so expensive. And I laugh because then I always tell people that $3,000 Louis Vuitton bag that you just put on my counter, that was expensive, right?
Right.
This is your health. This is your face. This is your wellness. This is your immunity. This is your body.
Yep.
There's no price on that because I'm telling you, you know, if something's $1,000, but you didn't bat an eye when you got that car or that bag, and that bag is going to be out of style, but health is never going to go out of style.
So, but these vitamin like shots and these drips, like that's boosting your immunity. That's the NAD. I just learned. This is fascinating. Okay, so I got my first NAD shot. You were there for it. I didn't have the whoosh, which may or may not be because I party, but I don't party. I just have some wine.
It doesn't matter.
But anyway, no, it was fine because the next day I didn't realize it was such a heavy anti-inflammatory. So I'm starting with arthritis here because I'm morphing into my mother. I have no pain.
Yeah, isn't it amazing?
It's fascinating. Like I'm waking up in the morning with my ankles and my feet are like a little like just stiff.
Yeah.
Haven't had it.
NAD, I do it.
Fascinating.
I love it.
I'm sold. Like I'm gonna buy the package.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm sold.
Yeah,
and I can do it right in my belly.
So regenerative, and you know, like I tell people. I mean, listen, full disclosure, everyone knows I say this. I'm 55, and I feel better at 55 than I did at 40 or 45. And I remember when I go back, and Jess Russo's got a beautiful archive of photos when we first started the business, and I look back at them, and I'm like, wow, I was so haggard, so tired, and you know, I think part of it is I started getting into the peptides. I do a lot of peptides. I do the IVs every month. I do the Botox. I do the fillers. I do the hair restoration, the exosomes. I do everything.
What's an exosome?
Exosomes are stem cells. They're great for regenerative properties. So in a dummy down warded version, I did it for hair because postmenopausal women tend to get thinning hair.
That's me.
Right? So your hair starts to thin and your lashes start to fall out and your skin starts to feel kind of icky. And your nails aren't growing as much as they used to, et cetera, among all the other things. But exosomes are great because they're tiny little messengers. So where you put them, let's say in your hairline or in your scalp, they'll start sending signals out to the cells that are already there like, hey, start producing hair. When you microneedle them into the face, hey, start producing collagen.
Is that the injections I saw somebody getting in their scalp? So with like a regular little like insulin syringe?
Yeah. They're just a bunch going in like a zigzag way. So one of the things, and we've got some clients that have like phenomenal results, like really like bold, patchy you know, areas that now are getting hair back. And they're like, I tried everything. So stem cells are like little blank slates where you put them, they'll replicate and become that. And then whatever's left over, they'll go anywhere else in the body and help.
It's like the tofu of the body.
Yeah, it takes on that thing. Yeah, I guess you're right. That's a good analogy. So I am a big.
That's how you get people to eat tofu. You put it in with something else and it tastes like
and they don't know what. Yeah, maybe. But you know what is interesting though is that a lot of people are afraid of what they don't know.
Right.
And then it's like, well, again, the FDA is big pharma and all that, right? So if they're not,
they're never going to approve it.
They want you to buy all the pills, right? They want you to be a pill popping society, which we are, unfortunately, right?
Yeah.
Sadly. And there's NAD. You see how well you felt, and then somebody else would be taking.
I'm telling you,
I
I opened my own jar of tomato sauce last night.
Isn't that awful?
I was like,
yep, that's the start. Yeah, that's the start of it.
You were rubbing shit all over your finger last week.
I call Aiden for everything, and I'm like, I can't. And I was like, this is amazing.
I'm telling you, it's like, glutathione, right? Get your cholesterol down naturally. You get a glutathione drip. We've had clients that get 6 to 8 glutathione drips. They bring their cholesterol down tremendously without going on medication. So I think like a lot of times people think, oh, you're just a med spa. No, we want blood work. We don't put you on any protocol or regimen without it. Mm-hmm. Some places just hook. I mean, this is one of the most dangerous things out there. And I wrote an article about it, about the dangers of getting your weight loss stuff online. Because, you don't know where it comes from, and it's like, well, it's cheaper. Okay, let's see how it's cheaper when you have bowel issues, when you might stop, have a bowel obstruction, or you might vomit to no end, and et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
So I think what everybody wants is, I want cheap, but I want it to work. And in some things, you could go cheap, but it's like,
but at what risk?
This is your health.
Right.
Like, why would you go and put something in your body where you don't know where it comes from?
Right.
And then it's funny because I would try to tell people this, and it's like, yeah, but it's convenient. All right. How many times a doctor sits with you? Never. They'll never sit down and tell you, but our nurse practitioners will sit there with you for an hour. Our wellness coordinator will sit there with an hour. They're always accessible because you're always going to have questions. Even I tell them, I'm like, all right, what can I do next? All right, I'm starting to feel this. I'm starting to feel this. They're like, all right, let's get you on this peptide. Okay, good. And I fell into NAD by accident. I just said, let me try it. I try everything in the store before I sell or recommend to anyone. 2 reasons. 1, if there's any side effects I want to know, let me be the guinea pig. 2, if there's any weird reaction, let me know.
Yep.
So that I can tell people this is what you can expect. I love NAD. NAD for me is a game changer.
It's wild.
Your clarity
Crazy.
and your focus.
Yes.
Can you give the layman's, aka Shannon, explanation of what that is? Because every time I go to Liquivida, which is how the
your Google tells you.
My nav says it. Yeah,
Liquivida. It sounds so fancy.
Liquivida.
It's the French.
Yeah.
The French.
Liquivida. I feel like I am in another country. I'm sitting here now, and I'm like, I know because now I've been in the talk, the lingo, but I think that the reason we wanted you on here so badly for a while was when we went to dinner that night. Again, I had that feeling of being in a foreign country with these two and educating people that, like, I see a needle and I'm like, get the hell away from me. What the fuck do you
Meanwhile,
think
I'm like...
Stacey's like,
I got another arm and I got this one.
She's got the rubber in her mouth, pinching it off. She's like, give it to me. I'll do it myself. Like, total polar opposites. And I think for a lot of people, they would benefit from going in and talking with your team because... I mean, we could sit here all day, but the amount of knowledge that you all have in such specified areas is so important in each of their own. So tell us quickly what NAD is.
Oh my gosh. So NAD in the Reader's Digest version is something you normally find in food. But as you get older, you absorb it less. So in other words, you can eat the same food, and when you were 20, you could absorb all of it, all the nutrients and stuff. But when you get older, for whatever reason, we don't produce or absorb NAD. So a lot of people found NAD through addiction, which ironically enough, people were doing NAD drips to stop the addictive cravings. Yeah. So when they did a little more research and you dig a little deeper, you realize it is also good for cravings. Right. So then they found out, well, okay, let's dig a little deeper. And it's very neuroprotective, meaning it's good for brain function. It helps with brain function. A lot of people had COVID and they get that brain fog I've heard of. So NAD has helped them with clarity. It also helps with metabolism. It helps with regenerative things. It helps your body. It's cellular, so it gets into that cell to kind of help repair from the inside out. That's the only way I could kind of give it to you.
And how often would you recommend somebody going in for an NAD shot?
Some people come in once a week. Some people I have clients that come in 2 to 3 times a week, depending on their need. I do it 2 to 3 times a week, depending if it's a good week. I'll do it, once a week.
If you feel a little sluggish.
Yeah, if I feel like, okay, this is going to be a really busy week and I've got nothing left in my tank and I'm exhausted, let me do this. Or I know that I have a really long, days coming up, a few nights events where I got to do. But it's also good for protecting against Alzheimer's and dementia. They found that helps as well.
Joe Rogan is that's who I first heard it.
Yeah, he did.
Right? I like Joe Rogan's podcast.
Yeah.
And he is dedicated to it.
Yeah.
I think he does it 3 times a week.
Yeah, it does. And it's a natural way of feeling better instead of, popping. And one of the things, I have people come in, they're like, well, these IVs, do they really work, all these vitamins? And we're like, yeah. Well, I take all these supplements every day.
It's not the same.
And I said, okay, so let me just tell you, you could take all the vitamins you want, but the time it gets from your mouth to your stomach, you've gotten 10% of it.
Yeah, and then you pee the rest of it out.
And then you don't even know what 10% you're getting. Are you getting the casing that this comes in, or are you getting the actual nutrient?
And the quality of the vitamin, too.
It's so much stuff in it.
We don't even know what we're buying.
Yeah. Well, I was talking about somebody, we have a lot of clients that come in either, in remission from cancer, going through chemotherapy, because, if you do functional medicine, which is really the basis of what we are, high dose vitamin C drips are great to counteract the effects of chemo, as well as, listen, there's no proven, you can't always say it's 100% effective, but viruses don't like acidic blood. Right? Cancer cells don't like acidic environments. So when you have a high dose of vitamin C, it changes the pH in your blood. So what it does is it makes your blood acidic, where a lot of things can't thrive, so to speak. So, and I say this all the time. I never had COVID.
Right.
And people are like, what?
Because you have so much vitamin
I never had
C.
COVID because I was always doing the vitamin drips. I knew to take vitamin C, elderberry, all that stuff. But I never got COVID. Now, there's a couple of times where maybe I had it. I just never tested. Who knows? But I never felt like, I don't know.
You never got walloped by it.
Yeah,
I wasn't. It was a very.
But I know people that swear up and down.
Yeah.
Like I have some people that come in. They're like, I love this functional medicine, and you're seeing more and more places pop up.
I think yes, functional medicine is the way.
And that's it. It's natural.
It brought me back from COVID. And I didn't even have COVID bad. I mean, I probably had a fever for 2 days. I never had a cough. Mm-hmm. For 2 weeks, I couldn't move.
Yeah.
I would get up, I'd get the kids to school, I'd go to work at 2:00. I'm like, I have to go home and go to bed.
Yeah, the exhaustion. Everyone would say that.
But I got exhausted.
The drip. She went into your place and called me the next day and was like, I'm fucking all over the place right now.
I can't explain it. I told Kate, I forget, I don't know if it was Kate or somebody. It was one of my friends. I I got the drip, and I was like, the only way I can explain it is it felt like somebody flushed my whole body with cool water. Mm-hmm. I felt clean and so fucking happy.
Yeah.
I had this energy. And almost immediately, I would say within 2 hours of the drip, I was it was like a serotonin overload. I was so happy.
And that's, and people are like, oh, does this really work? And I've had people that left, I don't feel a thing. I'm like, okay, you will eventually. And it might not be a huge thing. It might be just a little tweaking.
Those are the people, too, that are expecting, you to change their life.
Yeah, not in one dose. Well, you try, but you can't. But, then if I did, I'd be out of business.
Exactly.
No, but there's maintenance. That's what people just don't get.
Well, that's what,
You can't take one shot and feel like, okay, I'm fully,
done. Right.
I'm good.
Right.
You can't take one IV.
I'll give you another analogy. It's like advertising. Every time somebody's like, I want that one ad to bring in X amount of dollars.
Yeah, it's unrealistic.
And
your health is the same way.
Same thing. It's consistency.
Botox is consistency. I hate to break it to people when they say, well, how long does it last? It depends. When I gobble through it sometimes, my metabolism's a little faster. It might last 2 months for me because I'm eating it up, right?
Right.
Some people can go 6 months. But it's like anything. It's maintenance. And I tell everybody, do you get your hair colored? They're like, yeah. How often do you go? Every month or every 6 weeks. This is the same thing.
Right.
It's a maintenance for better health. And your health is I don't know. I don't fool around with that. I'll be cheap in other places in my life, but not that.
Not there.
Yeah, not there. But I don't know. So the IVs to me, I think, are great.
Yeah.
And I think that when you think about what it does and where they go and how it circulates, and it's something you can't get from a pill.
Yeah.
That's it, But
no, I agree with
it's
you.
education. It's telling everybody.
Education.
And the biggest thing with the IVs is now there's so many IV drip places popping up.
Yeah.
And I always tell our clients, you hear that noise, that big, big noise that you hear, that rattling of that machine. There's a reason we use the machine. Go in any other IV place, you'll never see it.
Yep.
I see IVs on Instagram starting them in a chair like this. Mm-hmm. That is dirty. It's unsterile.
Yep.
It's like, why are you doing
Hot
that?
flash. I don't know. It's just hot in here. Is it me?
Wow.
I know. Woo!
We have something for that.
It's been a minute. All right. So before we wrap up, tell us. I know that if you were to go to an island, you would take your Botox.
My Botox, my
So-
fillers, my peptides,
And Jess.
And Jess.
So we know that you love your Botox and your fillers, as do I. Favorite drip,
Liquilift, hands down.
and what's in Liquilift?
Everything.
Everything.
Glutathione, amino acids, anti-inflammatories, antivirals, calcium, magnesium, zinc, all the B complex vitamins.
So you're knocking it all out in one
everything
trip.
in one shot. That's the top of the line IV. You can't
right.
get much better than that. So I do that because I
That
think
one's
that
the best one.
yeah, the glutathione is good for women too. It's good
Doesn't
for everybody.
the glutathion too, like flush your like a detox? It's good
Cleans
for
your
chemo,
liver out.
right?
Yep.
Right. That's
Cleans
what I've
your
heard
liver too. Yep.
Okay.
It also is anti-aging. It brightens. It's a skin brightener, so it's good for that. It's got regenerative. It's definitely it's like a roto-rooter type of thing.
Okay. Favorite peptide? I know because you love them all.
I have. Oh gosh, I love them all. All right, let's think.
Sorry, this is.
That's a tough one because I'm on like GHK Copper. I'm on CJC. I do NAD. I love them all. I
Okay.
do. I love them all.
All right.
I do. Yeah.
And favorite facial?
Oh my God.
'Cause I
My
know you've
esthetician.
got-
Oh, she does this. Well, we don't. We're gonna try to promote it. She does this Japanese kind of lymphatic drain
Like a
thing.
wash
Oh.
out
Yeah, I
kind
don't
of
know what
thing?
she do. Well,
Do you
she
need a
slap it in my
model?
face like
I
this.
love that. That's
Yeah.
like when they do the sinus massage.
Yeah.
my
Oh, you got to
God.
have Victoria do
Oh,
it for
I
you.
will.
She's amazing.
Okay.
So she's trained in this. I don't know what she calls it. I'm going to probably butcher it. Victoria, please forgive me. It's like Komodo, Komudo. I don't know what the hell it's called, but it's this thing, and she just does like hours and like this Japanese massage,
Yeah.
and you come out of there. And I didn't believe her at first. I was like, "You're really going to see a difference in this?" She goes, "Wait till you do it." So she did one side of my face, and then the other side was untreated. I'm like, I look tighter. I'm like, this is great.
It's crazy.
It is crazy. So
Wow.
she does that.
Okay.
That's an add-on if she wants it. We have to.
Oh, so
figure
that's
out.
an add-on too.
She can add it on.
Oh,
That's
I
her
love it.
private thing. Yeah,
Okay.
it's her private thing, but she has some private clients. But yeah,
Okay.
she's great at that. So my favorite facial is anywhere that no one talks to me. So in my, I tell them when I get a facial, don't anyone speak to me.
Yeah, I'm here for that.
Yeah, don't talk to me for 1 hour. So she does the diamond glow, which I love.
You love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, because that we do use a real diamond tip, so it gets it a
Yes.
little deeper, and you glow. So like if I'm going on vacation, I'll get it done. If
Okay.
I'm going on to an event, I'll get it done. But I love
Now, do you recommend getting the diamond glow the day of the event or the day prior to the event?
day prior.
Day prior.
Yeah,
Is there a
day
little
prior.
like redness and?
There's
a
no
good tip.
redness. There's
Okay.
no redness, but I think that sometimes people's systems purge.
Right.
So, if you're really worried about it, do it a couple days before. It
Okay.
does last. I mean, because even with like a good skincare regimen, we always talk about medical grade skincare, and everyone knows that's the big thing we teach now, because everyone thinks, oh, I just go to Target and I buy whatever. No. Because medical grade is medical grade for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
It gets in deeper, it lasts longer, it helps complement the Botox, the filler, the facial. So if you're going to ask me my favorite medical grade product, all of it. Look
All
in
of
my
it.
display case.
I know. You
Come to
guys
my
put me
house.
on the Skin Better,
I love it.
and I'm on the Duo Kit. So it's the vitamin C and then the retinol, and I have to tell
Retinoid,
you,
yeah, retinoid. Mm-hmm.
It's phenomenal.
Isn't it great? Your skin looks
And
really good.
Thank you. That C cream, it's like a little tint, like
Yes,
very, very,
yes.
very subtle, but it's really nice.
Yeah, and everyone, I've seen a difference.
And it's
in,
not sticky. Like
no,
I love it.
No. And isn't it cool the way you just turn
It
it?
is cool.
It's like very
Oh, I
techy.
used that the other night.
And you really only need half a pump.
Yeah.
Is what
You
I've
only need a
learned.
rice kernel.
Like you do
Yeah.
like a half, and it's like, and then it's great. I
Yeah.
love it.
I
And
think of that
that's-
every time I'm in the shower with the shampoo I just got. They have the twist top.
Yeah.
And then I got a fumble because it's in my hand, but that
Yeah.
one's like, boop. boop.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
It's very
functional.
aerodynamic.
Yeah.
It's sexy.
It's very
it travels
sexy.
It's
well.
a cool, yeah. It's
a
definitely
cool
good
thing.
packaging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
But the thing
and
with
good
it,
product.
you only
Yeah.
need a little bit.
Yeah,
And that little
it's
bit's going to last you
phenomenal.
months. That little
Yeah.
bit is going to last you about 4 months.
Yep.
Yeah.
And people are like, well, it's
so expensive. But you go through an entire what is it, like booth number 9. On my mom buys some crap from Target, and I'm always like, why are you doing that? I know it's $9.99, but you're ripping through it because
Right.
it's not
Yep.
moisturizing.
And that's
Right.
that's the whole advertising thing where, it's cheaper because you're going to use more because it's filled with crap
Right.
inside of it.
Exactly.
And one of the things that happened to me was years ago, I ended up getting a white, like thing. I don't know. It was a
like
pimple.
Amelia or whatever.
In my eyelid. So I was like, what is this thing? And then it started getting harder and harder. And whatever.
Is that what it's called?
I don't know what the hell they called it, but I went to the plastic surgeon because I was like, okay, a dermatologist doesn't want to do anything. Go to a plastic surgeon. It's in your eyelid. So I said to him, I said, what is this? And he goes, what are you using on your eyes? Now, I mean, I was a new nurse and whatever. I was on a budget. So I was buying oil of Olay, not to knock it, but he goes, that stuff has like so much fat in it and waxes. So he goes, you're putting it on your eye. And he goes, and now you're clogging your pore.
Yep.
So I said, okay, well, what are you going to do? Can you squeeze it? He goes, no, I got to cut it. I'm like, what? Yep. So he had to cut it out of my eyelid.
People get it here.
Yeah.
I was getting it here, same thing. When I was that's when I switched to better skincare. I was in my late 20s and I'm like, what is this? So I immediately stopped using everything. My dermatologist was like, you have to purge your eyes.
Purge your eyes, yeah.
And it took like 6 months, and that finally went away, and then I was able to use...
Because your body is absorbing
gel-based
all the wax.
eye cream.
Yep, the wax in there, the animal fat that's in there, stuff you can't pronounce is in there.
Yeah, stuff you should never put on your face.
Yeah, so after that, I said to myself, okay, you know what? It's just like eating well.
Yes.
Right? Like, you're not going to... I mean, why do you think McDonald's, Kentucky Fried Chicken, all those places are cheaper?
Oh my God.
The food quality's not that good.
We have to wrap up in 2 minutes, but before we do, I was watching some guy had a time capsule, and it was 20 years ago. He put in a canister, and it's shaped like a Big Mac, a McDonald's cheeseburger in the wrapper, and then he had laminated the receipt. Okay?
Oh, God.
They open it up. The wrapper has disintegrated considerably.
But
the receipt is like kind of funky, even though it's in the laminate. He opens the fucking cheeseburger and the bun are 100% intact, no mold, nothing. The only thing that had disintegrated was the pickle.
Ew. Now that goes to show you.
20 years.
Now think of that in terms of your body.
I know. I just got chills. Right? I think I might throw up now. All right. So
on that lovely note.
You're welcome.
Wait, before we go, let everybody know your Instagram handles so that they can be sure to check out your pages and follow and really listen to what is being told and
taught.
This is education. This is wellness. This is not just, drive through, pump you full of this or pump you full of that.
Yeah.
So tell everybody where they can find you.
Okay. So we're on Facebook. It's liquivida.middletown, liquivida.marlboro. Same thing with Instagram, liquivida Middletown, liquivida Marlboro. You'll see us there. We're trying to do more educational stuff, just to kind of get it out there so you know what the different stuff is. Yeah. Even just neurotoxins. There's so many to pick from, So nowadays, it's becoming like, what do I do? Where do I go? So we're trying to do a lot more. But if you don't, if you have any questions, you could DM us. We always answer.
Very responsive.
We really, really want people to come in. And even if you just come in and get a tour, just come and see what we're about. There's no pressure.
It's really nice.
Yeah.
And if you come to the trolley bop, that night, if you pre-register, you can have your skincare consultation. So for skincare, for any sort of aesthetic services that you want. IVs and
Botox,
for the medical grade skin products.
Yeah. We're going to have everybody on deck, all hands on deck that night. We're going to have every room with its practitioner in it. And then you can speak about whatever it is. You can get your consult. We'll do like 5 to 10 minute consults. And if there's something that you like, and there's a regimen you want, whether it be aesthetics or IVs or skincare, you'll get a nice discounted price for it.
We can
pre-purchase
which is perfect.
And we'll have lots of food and
fun
and booze.
Yay! We can't wait. Thank you so much for taking the time to hang with us today.
That was so much fun.
This is like being in my living room with my friends, hanging out. The only thing missing is the booze.
Next time we'll do an evening podcast.
I know.
That would be fun. There is a bar there, though.
Well, thank you.
Thank you guys
for
having me.
See you at the bop.